Welcome back to Reading Simplified. I'm Dr. Marnie Ginsberg, and we are in week 2 after our big challenge, Level Up Your Reader's Achievement in the next 5 days. We just finished that, actually, but many of you are asking questions. What's next? And how do I get my struggling reader to the next stage? So I thought that I'd show you a little snippet of what could come next. And also, many of you have asked about what would that struggling reader that we showed in the Level Up Challenge, what would he be doing now this week? And what was he doing in the following weeks? Well, the great news is that I was able to continue to watch him for several weeks. And so we have some of that footage to show you tonight. Does that sound good? Let me know who is here. Did you do the Level Up Challenge? Or have you been using Switch It? I'd love to hear what your experiences have been with Switch It, with the challenge. And some of you, it's Monday, or for us, our Australian and New Zealand fans, it is already Tuesday. You may have been into your second week of Switch It. I would love to hear from you. What is going on, you guys, in terms of your Switch It experience? The other thing that I want to point out tonight is that we are in the last 2 days of the recap being available for you to watch. If you were at all curious about how just one activity called Switch It could change so many different things for your struggling or beginning readers, then we have a great recap page of all the experiences that we had from the previous week. So if you go to this website that I'll put up here in a second, this website will take you to a recap page so you can see all of the previous videos from the past week. What you will see, I'll show you, is this. So, over 5 days, this little boy went from CVC to CVCC. CVCC. Oh, I'm not getting it right. CCVCC. 5 sound words from being a struggler who could not even segment the word sat to a thriver who on Friday could change stump to stomp. So that is really something worth celebrating, and it is because of that one activity. Many of you put it into play. So I'd love to celebrate you, maybe what you learned from last week, or if you've already gotten something new to show off or question for this week, I'd love to hear it. In a second, I'm going to show you what happened with this young guy in about 2 months after that footage. I didn't work that. Original 5-day challenge was in November, and I didn't work with him for over Thanksgiving and then moving into the Christmas holidays. So I got started with him and worked with him about 2 or 3 times in January. So I have some footage for you to see of him in January, and he was putting things together. So that will be exciting to see. And Debbie says, hey, Debbie, looking forward to starting the lessons in the Academy and working with her grandson. She just joined the Reading Simplified Academy, and we have enrollment open today and into tomorrow. So jump in now if you have any thought of wanting to continue the success that we saw in the Level Up Your Reader's Achievement Challenge from last week. And we have Michelle back at school after March break last weekend, did with 1 student, and she loved it. Great. Awesome, Michelle. I'm glad for your jumping right back into it. That's cool. Yeah, we had a lot of U.S. and I suppose some Canadian teachers who were on spring break for the challenge, so they just kept learning and are kind of itching to get started with it. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, this little link will take you to a recap where you can see that young boy's progress across the course of the week. And not only was the challenge about him, it was about you guys moving your kids with this one activity. The reason I chose that one activity, Switch It, is because it knocks out so many different things for reading problems or for anyone who needs to have beginning reading instruction. And it's kind of the antithesis for a lot as compared to a lot of reading programs. A lot of reading programs will have you do 10 minutes of phonemic awareness orally only in isolation, and 10 minutes of phonics instruction in isolation, not connected to words, not connected to sounds, and then maybe some high frequency words, and then maybe you'll get to words, and maybe you'll do some handwriting, maybe you'll do some spelling, and it's just an additive thing that is insurmountable considering all that you have to teach to kids who are beginning or struggling. But Switch It does pretty much all of these things in a fraction of the time, and even better, it makes a heck of a lot more sense. And that's what many of you realize with your readers. You weren't able to see them move, and with this one simple activity, you saw them move. You saw them making connections. You saw them saying things like, oh, now I like books, and you saw them making connections in their writing, and it was just spilling over because for the first time they understood how sounds connected with symbols. So let me tell you what happened after I worked with the little boy who was our star student, we call him. So I think what I'll show you is I'll show you this Streamline Pathway. And this is like a kind of a scope and sequence for the Reading Simplified approach. And I know if you're new to this, it's probably too much to take in. But the things I want to point out that are relevant for the video that I'm about to show are that this is the first grade Streamline Pathway. We have just 3, kindergarten, first grade, and anyone second grade or above. I use the second grade and above one for anyone who's even 17 if they're struggling in reading. And so we start with the young boy that we saw in the Level Up Challenge. He would have been here at step 1. He would have needed to learn his short vowels, his consonants, and his consonant digraphs. And actually, I would have maybe started with the kindergarten pathway. But once I got started working with him again and adding more Reading Simplified activities to his repertoire in January after the November challenge, then he quickly learned those short vowels and started blending as you read. And so we moved into the second step. And the second step is the advanced phonics of the O sound. Notice it's all the spellings of O, like the O in boat, or the O in go, the O in home, the O in boat, the O in show, and the O in toe. So he did that in a previous lesson, and actually day 5 in the recap, you can see a snippet of him being exposed to the O sound. And then tonight's video is 3 parts, a whole Reading Simplified lesson where he's moving into step 3, the E sound. And the E sound includes the E in he, the E in, let me point, here we go, the E in he, the E in sheet or sleep, the E in baby or many, the E in these, and the E in each. So that's where we're picking up our story. After we saw our young star student move from just doing one activity, Switch It, for the purposes of the challenge, now I'm going to be able to show you what a complete Reading Simplified small group reading lesson would look like. Are you interested in hearing about that? Would you like to know what the full lesson would be? Okay, who else is in the house? We've got Tracy. She says she is on day 4 with her little guy. I'm seeing some gains with recall of sounds he was weak in. Beautiful. He struggled with CCVC, but we will continue to work on it. He is showing more confidence, which is great. Absolutely. That sounds like a great recap, Tracy. You know, our little guy who is our star student, he had to spend 2 days on CVC. Some kids will obviously spend 2, 3, 4 days on CCVC, so that's not, that's reasonable, but it's just that each day we're noticing progression, and that's why that activity is so powerful. Hey, Kathy, glad you're here. So a complete Reading Simplified lesson would include just 3 parts. And these 3 parts I use with anyone, whether they're beginning or struggling of any age. And so it's super easy to replicate this 3-part strategy. You just increase the level of the words and text. And so the first part is rereading for fluency. And that's where you take the passage from the previous day that you have already read out, that they have read first on their own, and that you have read to them. And they have practiced it ideally for homework or in centers or with a partner or with the teacher's assistant. And they've practiced it to the point of fluency. And if they can't do it to the point of fluency, then you just shrink the section down until they can really get something fluent. So the purpose of rereading for fluency is to build their confidence, build their motivation, build their fluency overall. But initially to build their high frequency sight words. So you'll see that with our young star student. He had very few sight words when he began, and he's learning them through the rereading. The second component is word work, and word work consists of usually 2, sometimes 3 reading simplified activities. So again, you'll get to see him do switch it, of course, almost always include that. And then instead of doing read it, because he kind of got past that, he's now doing sort it. And if you haven't seen day 5, you might not know what sort it is, but it's a way of focusing on the advanced phonics, like the long vowel. So here he did the sort it for the O sound in our day 5 video for the level up challenge. And now today he's going to start sort it for the first time of the E sound. Okay, so rereading for fluency is the first part of a good lesson. Word work is the second part, usually just 2 activities because you need to keep the lesson moving. And then the final is reading of a new text. And the point of the reading of a new text is to put all of his decoding skills into action and to incorporate it with comprehension and vocabulary and all the things that's demanded of good reading. And he's going to be using, for a stage while he's on this Streamline Pathway, he's going to be using mostly decodable text. We do that for a while, maybe 12 weeks, maybe 24, maybe if he's of kindergarten, maybe 36 weeks, but it doesn't take long because we can quickly move them with the proper decoding foundation into authentic early chapter books like Henry and Mudge or High Fly Guy or Little Bear and so on. Okay, so you guys got the 3 parts? Anybody want to put it in the comments for me? It's rereading for fluency. Number 1, rereading for fluency. Number 2, word work. And number 3, guided reading. So I'm going to show you an extended video of his entire session, and I will be here and I will type some comments, but if you have questions or comments as he goes through it, let me see what I can address as he's working through it, okay? So we can keep this as a dynamic little video example. Again, this is our star student from the Level Up Your Reader's Achievement in the Next 5 Days Challenge. I had initially worked with him for 5 days in mid-November. We didn't work until again in January, and this is about his 2nd or 3rd session in January of his kindergarten year. So we've made it past, blend as you read in the read it strategy, and he knew most of his short vowels a lot of the time. So now I wanted to add advanced phonics. So we're starting advanced phonics early as compared to other programs. Hi, Fatima, but it is something that he's able to do with a lot of support from the teacher. Oh, and the final thing I want to say is, again, I am just a reading tutor. I don't have my own classroom right now, but these activities are being used by lots of teachers, especially in small group instruction. So I think it serves you best to see a teacher work one-on-one with a student so you can see the nuances of the approach and also follow the student's development. But I'm not recommending that everybody has to work one-on-one. That's just the constraints of my current situation, but also the fact that I think it's a better learning tool for you. But we do have videos in the Reading Simplified Academy of small groups, and I think that's the main way that most classroom teachers will be able to get this accomplished. Okay, so Debbie is helping us out there with the, this is the 3-part structure of a typical Reading Simplified lesson. And again, let me hear from you during the session if you have questions about what you're seeing on the video. This is our star student and his first session with the E sound. Hello! It's Marnie Ginsburg here from Reading Simplified, and I've got my star student from our 5-day challenge in November. Look how fast he reads. Okay, what he's going to do first is rereading, and he's rereading the O from last week, or the previous week that I met with him. Basically, these spellings of the O sound. Okay, you ready to show him what's what? There, as previously read this O sound story, Joe and Joan. I think he's read it at least once or twice with his mom. And so we're going to try to reread it today to build up fluency and memorize basically these spellings of the O sound. Okay, you ready to show them what's what? Okay, what's the title?
Okay.
Let's do it together.
Joe.
Good.
Joe.
Uh-huh. And. Joe and. Oh, is that sound? Joe.
Jill.
This is the girl's name. Joe. Joe.
Joan.
Yes, okay. So I'm using this little notched card to try to cover up the sounds that he's not, so that he can blend the first two sounds as he goes. All right, Joe and Joan. So we're going to read this story about Joe and Joan. It's probably been a while since you read it, right? Okay, let's see what it says.
I am Joe. I am Jones.
I am Joe.
Joan.
Okay, good.
Will.
This is E.
We.
Bo. Good.
Have soap.
I am Joe. I am Joan. We both have soap. Lots of O sounds here.
We. Cut.
Good.
The soap.
We cut the soap.
Okay. We.
First time?
Both.
Good. We both
have boats.
Nice. We both have boats.
We go to the tub.
We go to the tub.
We both float
Nice.
our boats.
We both float our boats.
Go, boats, go.
Yay, what did they do? Tell me what happened in that story.
They floated in the water.
What's they? The people floated?
No, the soap.
The soap. How did the soap float? How did the soap float?
Because
I think that's just what soap does. You have to. Have you ever tried that? I don't want you to poke your finger with that lead. Okay. So for rereading from Fluency, the objective is at his level is to not only memorize the O spellings like the O in Joe and the O in Joan and the O in both, but also to memorize these high frequency words that are in the passage as well. So to get his eyes on print more than I would otherwise, I'm going to model it for him, but have him watch so that he can see it again, and then the next time he reads it, it'll be even easier, okay? So I don't want you to bend that card because this is my special card. Would you use it as a bookmark? Okay, underneath. And you watch as I read. Joe. And Joan, okay? Joe and Joan. I am Joe. I am Joan. We both have soap. We cut the soap. I want you to say with your eyes where we are. We both have boats. They've got their little boats right there, don't they? So now they're headed somewhere else. We go to the tub. We both float our boats. Go, boats, go. Whose boat is winning? Who's that?
Soap.
It says soap. We don't know whose it is. Okay? So if you have any questions, this is an example of rereading for Fluency. He's practiced it before. I'm modeling it to him so it's a little easier for him, and now I'm going to ask him to read just a small portion of it so we can keep moving with the lesson. Will you just read 2 boxes for me? This one and this one, okay?
Wait, this one and that one?
Yeah.
Okay. We both have soap. We cut the soap.
Very nice. So well done. Okay, so now it's time for word work. And this is Switch It, where he got his start as the star.
Don't read that.
No, you don't? Okay. Let me push the board down a little bit so the camera can see it. And let's start with the word lamp. We need a lamp. Can you make lamp? I don't think you can do it blindfolded.
I can see.
Okay, ready? Here we go. Lamp.
It looks like a snake.
Yep, that's right. Lamp.
No, lamp.
Oh, I like that you heard the sounds. Let's check it. And the whole word is?
Lamp.
Okay. The next word we're going to add, listen. We're going to add a sound, so we need an extra letter. Like clamp. Like I'm going to clamp on the boards together with like some sort of tool. Clamp. Can you make this clamp?
Cool.
We need to add something.
Clamp. There we go.
You've got clap. Clam. No, we need to add. You were right. Clam.
Clamp.
Very good. It's a big one. Look what he did. He's got clamp. Tell me the sounds in clamp. I'm clamping the chair with my fingers. Okay, let's switch it to clump. I got a. Oh, that was fast. I got a clump of grass in my shoe. Tell me the sounds. And the word is
Clump.
okay. Switch it to plump. Plump. That's kind of full, like a ripe plump sounds delicious.
Dun dun dun.
Flying. Tell me the sounds.
And
And the word is
plump.
okay. Are you ready for the big challenge? We're going to do 2 switches. This is pretty hard. Okay, listen carefully. You have plump. We're going to switch it to blimp. Like a blimp is a balloon in the sky. Blimp.
Go away.
Wow. Do you think you have it?
Yep.
And the thing is,
Blimp.
wow, that was flying. Okay, so he's really strong here at Switch It now. In November, he could not segment 3 sound words. He could not segment like hat, but he's so good now. Woo. Awesome. So that's an example of Switch It for a kid who's moving right along, doing great. The last time I saw him, I think it was probably 2 weeks ago, or maybe 10 days. I can't remember exactly. He
10 days, probably.
learned the O sound for the first time. And so he did sort it with the O sound. You can hopefully see that to some extent. And now I want to introduce a new sound. Are you ready for the new sound? Okay, so this is word work, and we're doing the E sound.
Oh, we're not doing that again.
No, not the O, but the E, okay?
Wow.
Guess what? There's a key sentence for E, and it is, he sees many of these each year. So I think it's a picture somebody you might recognize. He sees many of these each year. Who is that picture of?
Santa Claus.
What is he seeing a list something of?
A list of toys.
I think you're right. Look at it. It says, he sees many of these each year.
That's toys.
And,
Or maybe children.
I think it's the list of all the toys the children want, maybe. So here we have those E's. Look at this. That goes along with our sentence. He, this E, sees, this E.
E?
Yeah,
E?
many of these. There's that E that's separated.
Hey,
Each
they're
here.
almost the same.
That's
but
right.
that's a space.
Okay, so what we're going to do is read a word and then decide where it goes and say the sounds as we write it.
Are we gonna do the whole thing?
No, just maybe one word in each column. Okay?
Okay.
So, what is the first word?
Okay.
This is one sound right here.
Sh. E. Tree. She. She.
She is happy.
E. Wait, let me see. E by itself?
That's right. So say the sounds as you do it. Say the sound. So this is sorted, a way of handling the advanced phonics level. Some of you have been asking about this recently, and so I thought it would be good to show you. Nice. What's the next one? Oh, this is a little more challenging. We'll have to break it up. Try A. That's a B. Babe. That's a B.
Babe.
Babe. And then E.
Baby.
Baby. Do you have a baby in your family? Sort of, right? Where does that, the E in baby? Oh, he found it pretty quickly. Say the sounds. So switch it is really good for the short vowels, but once a kid gets good at that, then they don't need to have that kind of drawn out practice with all these tiles. It just takes a little longer. Right here, he can go straight into reading words at a time, do more in a short period of time, and learn how to handle the advanced vowels. Okay. Let's fix the B, okay? This B is right, but there's not really a B here, so make it babe, E, baby. There you go. Okay, what's this one? This is short.
B.
B. How will you be when you're older? You have to think about where it goes.
It has to go in one of these. It can't go in this one.
It could go in one that we've already done. That's the trick that I'm giving you here. B. Say the sounds.
B. E.
Okay, one more.
Okay. Each. Each.
Very good. So he's able to read it because he knows all these sounds say E. So it's a scaffolded experiment for him. E. Okay. These. Wow, these are pretty easy for you. These. Where does that go? That's separated E. And his default is to say sounds now as he writes, which is great. It'll help him be a good speller, besides the good reading. These. Okay, the last one is this one.
That's not the last one, but E.
I'm sorry, I want you to do the next word. It'll be the last one you need to do.
Oh. C.
I see you. Do you see me?
I see you.
Do you see your dad?
Yes.
I don't know, I'm not either. Okay, what was our key sentence for the E sound? He sees many of these each year. That's the choice I got. Look at all the E's you got. You got this E, he, this E, sees, E. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is not enough practice for him to have memorized these all. But nevertheless, it's a good start. I would have him finish this and practice it again. And in the Reading Simplified Academy, in the Reading Simplified Academy, I have several different sheets so he can do the same E sound but with different word lists. And if he was in the 4th grade and still needed some support, he would have harder E words so that everyone can do this activity and the levels could just increase by the words. So one kid maybe in 2nd grade or 1st grade might have the word every because it's a 3-syllable word. Okay, so he's done O, he's just being introduced to E, and so what we're going to do is have him read an E sound text. How about this one? This one you may have heard before. This one is This little piggy. Ooh, it's amazing how hard it is for me to get that to be in a straight line. Okay, are you ready? Let's do it together.
This little piggy.
This little
piggy.
Uh-huh.
This piggy.
Oh, that's not quite. This first sound is lit. Uh-huh. This little
piggy.
This little piggy
went to the market.
That's what it could say. Let's check what it says. Went to market. This little piggy went to market. Okay.
This little piggy
stayed. I read the small words for him. This little piggy stayed home. And now you see the same O that you already studied. Mm-hmm.
This little piggy went.
Had what?
Roast.
Nice.
Pig.
This little piggy had roast
beef.
That's right.
Beef.
Mm-hmm.
This little piggy had
none.
This little.
Oh, let's check that word again. Good.
And this little piggy went.
This little piggy ran.
Wee all the way home.
Awesome. Very good. So what happened to the little piggies?
They got eaten by a wolf.
Oh, you think? I think that was a different one. What happened in this piggy story?
When they all went to the market.
That's right. And
one went wee all the way home.
Some got this thing and some got that thing, right?
I'm gonna get you, Daddy.
So that's the third part of a complete lesson, the guided reading. I helped him.
Daddy, I'm gonna get you.
I helped him to read the story and check with comprehension. And now we're going to just fold back around to the beginning of the lesson and do a brief rereading for fluency so he can go out on his own and read this independently. Okay? You ready? Eyes on print. I'm going to read it, and then you get your second turn. Ready? The title is This Little Piggy. This little piggy went to market. This little piggy stayed home. This little piggy had roast beef. This little piggy had none. And this little piggy ran wee all the way home. Very nice. Okay.
I can read one. Now I can read all of these.
I think that's pretty easy for you to read. Let me hear you. Okay. This little piggy.
This little piggy went to market.
Yes.
This little piggy stayed.
Yep, you got it. Stayed
home. This little piggy had roast beef. This little piggy had none. And this little piggy ran wee all the way home.
Oh my goodness, so good. He didn't make any mistakes and I didn't help him. So that's how rereading for fluency helps. It's even easier when he's got a poem that he may have memorized, but still he was looking at the words and he had to pay attention whether it said ran or went or had or...
Can I have a break?
We're almost done. I have one more task for him to search for these sounds. So not only is he going to sort it, but then he's going to pay attention to where the E sound is in the words, okay? This is after a long day of kindergarten, so it's hard to pack in so much concentrated effort. So the last thing, and then we'll sign off, is search for the sound.
Search for the sound.
So where are the E sounds in this sentence? This little piggy went to market.
Okay.
Just the E sound. Don't get tricked. Oh, that's the O sound. You're remembering the last week.
That one?
That's not. Let's listen to this one. This little piggy went to market. You're finding the E letter. That's totally right, but that's not what we're listening for now. Listening for the sound. Can you say E? E. Okay. This little piggy went to market. Where's the E in that? Just listen, okay? This little piggy went to market. Did you hear an E?
Yeah.
Where? What word?
I need to
What word?
Wait.
What
Right
word?
here, right here.
Just tell me the word. This. We're listening for E. Can you say E? E. Okay. This little piggy. Do you hear it in that one?
A-E? I mean E-A?
I don't really want you to worry about the picture or the spelling. I just want you to tell me which word has the sound that's coming out of my mouth. This little piggy.
One of these boxes, right?
It's in several of the boxes, so we just have to listen.
This one. This little piggy went to the market.
But where?
No, this one.
You know what? This is tricky because you're trying to look at this. I'm going to make it easier for you, okay? Say E.
E.
E. And stretch it out.
E.
Okay? So we're going to listen for that sound in the word. It's going to be in one of 3 words. Okay? Listen. Listen for E. This little piggy.
I know that one.
Which
Right there.
is that the E? Where's the E sound?
The third one.
What's that word? The third word was this little piggy. What was the word? Just the word. The whole thing that I'm saying. Was it this? Or was it little? Or was it piggy? Piggy. And where is the E in piggy? Piggy.
Little piggy. This one.
Now just circle the E in piggy. Oh my goodness, he got it. And that one's the hardest one because he's probably not thought about E being that letter. Okay?
The rest.
Oh, let's not mark it up. Let's not mark it up just because we want you to be able to read it again. Now, where on our sorted chart would the E and piggy belong?
Piggy.
Piggy.
Oh.
That's right. You pointed to the right one. The E as in many. Okay, so this is a great example of how you can squeeze in a lot of instruction in a short amount of time, but you can't overwork your kindergartners after a long day of school, so we're going to call it quits. He did rereading for fluency. You can go play with the ball. Yeah, Nick, you nailed it. He did rereading for fluency of the O sound. Not right now. And he did sort it with CCVC words. And he did a new sound, E, and you can keep practicing the E sound all week. And he also read for guided reading a passage with E sound and a little review of the O sound. And we started to do search for the sound, but that's tricky for beginners. I think I see someone with the ball. All right, that was a full session, actually a little over full because like I said in the comments that I didn't see him very often, just about twice a month, so I tried to squeeze as much in. But he was moving ahead. Now, I think if you're not familiar with this approach, it looks like it's really laborious for him and I have to help him with everything. But this is a really brief period where he's coalescing a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. He moves rapidly from here. So this was at the end of January. And at the end of June of that same year, his kindergarten year, I tested him with standardized tests with Woodcock-Johnson tests. And he was on 3 tests I tested, word attack, which is tests his sound symbol correspondence, his understanding of how to have a sound-based decoding approach, word identification, and spelling. And his word attack was like a 4th grader in the 3rd month. So this work that we're doing here with Switch It and Read It and Sort It is getting that firm foundation for him so that he will have all the skills he needs to attack words wherever he encounters them on his own in the future. His word identification, his recognition of a list of real words was like a 2nd grader at the beginning of the year. So that, mid-November, we did a week of Switch It challenge. I worked with him about every other week from January to the beginning of June, and he's reading like the beginning of 2nd grade. and his spelling as well was like a second grader at the beginning, a 2.0 for spelling, a 2.0 for word identification. So even though this, again, if you're not familiar with this approach, I know from what is traditional instruction that it might seem like it's too hard and that it's not his instructional level, but he's actually succeeding eventually across the course of the lesson with the teacher support, and then it moves him rapidly into figuring out how to decode. So that is why this 3-part lesson, that's an example, I believe, of why this 3-part lesson is really effective. And so I want to encourage you again, one last time, to check out this. You know, you always want to do this. You see other people pointing down at little things like this on TV, and now I get to do it. It's kind of a perk. Go to this website, please, and see the recap of last week if you haven't caught it yet. And if you thought it was good, share it with a friend, share it with a peer or a colleague or an administrator, and tell them what powerful tool this one activity is. And you would be amazed at how, when it coalesces with all the core Reading Simplified strategies, how much further the kids can go. So send your friends to this recap page. It's only going to be available till tomorrow night, Tuesday midnight Eastern Standard Time, which is New York City time. Then I'm taking it down, and it may be available for $97, or it'll be free for anyone who is a member of the Reading Simplified Academy. And we're also open right now in the Reading Simplified Academy, where I teach you this exact lesson and how it works with kids of so many different ages. So it works for him, and we follow this Streamline Pathway, and it works for kids who are 15 if they're struggling. They have a slightly different pathway, but it's basically the same general activities and the same progression of steps. So he went from step 1, step 2, step 3, and then by June I would have been done with the steps, and that's why he was reading above grade level. So I'm thankful again for the Switch It Challenge. I'm thankful for your participation. You've really kind of blown me away with the results from all of you. We have people here from New Hampshire and New Zealand and Canada and Botswana and Jamaica. And so thank you all for your participation. And I'd love for you to keep up the enthusiasm for this activity and keep adding in other Reading Simplified activities, even if you're not able to be a member. But do consider being a member, because I think you'll be very pleased with what your students will achieve, and also the reduction in workload that you will have, because it'll be easier to plan and it'll be easier to move kids along, and you won't be tearing your hair out with striving readers you can't seem to move. So I'm going to pop in one more time tomorrow, and I'll see if I can dig up another video of our young friend further down the line, see what we can learn from him with another video from our star student. So that is going to be tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Normally I'm here on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, but this week with family scheduling, I'm going to do that tomorrow, Tuesday night at 9 p.m. And then we'll be closing out this recap page, and we'll also be closing down enrollment for the Reading Simplified Academy. So please jump in, please share it with a friend, and I'll see you tomorrow.